As a matter of fact, my family comes from just a little bit south of here into Putnam County, from Bainbridge is where my father grew up. I have a real strong attachment to Wabash. One of my greatest accomplishments in that regard is that I managed to send my son here, who graduated in '96.
The faculty is, I think, almost uniquely committed to that level of involvement with students. And for that matter, so are the alumni. I mean, there are literally hundreds of stories of, alumni who have similarly helped recent graduates to find the first step up on the ladder. And those are really, to me, what's really special about Wabash College has been throughout the almost 50 years that I've been involved with the college.
To come over, we'll look around campus. And so I did, and fell in love with the place.
I think one thing that was really interesting is I came here in my sophomore year. I graduated from a small high school that was very near here, and then I went to Pepperdine University in California for a year. And while I was out there, I had a professor who took me aside in my second semester and said, well, you may want to actually consider transferring, because you strike me as someone who wants to actually get an education. And so what struck me the first time that I had met Coach Johnson was he spent more time talking to my father than he did to me. So he had a long conversation with my father. He never really recruited me. He recruited my father, and he just talked to him. And when I came over it was weird because I was a sophomore, so I'd already had a year, and I wasn't really in the freshman class, and there were orientation, and people were walking around getting used to the campus and trying to understand what college is all about. And for me, it was just like, I just need to know, where's my room, because I was an independent, and what do I do about getting my books? So, the normal things that you would do after you've had a year under your belt. So it was a little different for me. But Coach actually met me and my father on the steps of the Spark Center. And kind of came down, and he shook my hand. He said, I'm glad to have you here. And then he turned to my father, and he spent most of his time talking to my dad. And the one thing that struck me is he said that, he looked at my dad and he goes, we're going to take care of your son.
The faith that this school puts in their people is so unique. I didn't find this at Bradley. I was a C student here. In Indiana, you had to start on your master's in 5 and finish in 10 if you were going to teach school. I couldn't get even into Indiana State, for God's sakes, because I had a C average, okay? My principal happened to have graduated from Wabash too, and I think that's how I got hired. And he picks up the phone, he says, do you realize you're turning down a Wabash man? I was in. My college boards, if you will, for grad school were about that big. I was a C student here, a B+ student at Bradley University in Peoria, and an A student on the graduate level. That's what this school is, and that's what they've given me.
It's a very special place where you have the opportunity to keep education and learning at the top of your list of priorities. There were a number of studies or attempts to review and perhaps change the enrollment policy in the years following our graduation, and of course it didn't get changed. I would be among those who would defend keeping the enrollment policy as it is. It isn't obviously as Spartan as one might think. It's not as frustrating as one might think. But it's a place where learning is taken very, very seriously. And I think that's, and because of the size of the college and the opportunity to make relationships with professors, it's truly an outstanding institution as far as I'm concerned.
But then, Wabash has meant an awful lot to me. We've had an active alumni association in the Washington, D.C. area that I was privileged to be a part of. Had a lot of fun going to college fairs to convince people to come to Wabash. And I'm a biology major, went on to Indiana University, and then to Ohio State. And my biology career took us to Africa, where I'm studying tick biology. And so one time in my career, I was Dr. Tick. Then I switched over and with this broad Wabash background, started working on Japanese beetle grubs and their biological control. I was Dr. Grub. And now we have alpacas. And so I guess that makes me Dr. Paca. So it's been an interesting life, and I owe a lot to Wabash for it.
But anyway, it's this old locker room, and we're down there, we're getting ready to go out for a run, and a coach from another team I forget what it was, it could have been wrestling or something there, he comes in the locker room, and Paul's standing there, and I'm standing there, and Dave Drobanak is standing there, and the coach turns around and looks towards Paul and goes, is this a boys' school, an all-boys school? And Paul Raspberry turns around to him and goes, no, 800 men go here. So that was like my first kind of introduction to that's what it means to kind of be a Wabash man.
The faculty really is exceptional in terms of the extent to which they go above and beyond in working with students and in encouraging them not only in their educational experience, but as they go on forward from there.
I came here, worked my tail off, and had a lot of fun. What more can you ask for? No, really and truly. And I made an awful lot of friends. You make so many good friends and friends that last forever. The bigger schools, you meet someone and the next year you won't even see them because they'll be at the other end of the campus. I think the biggest thing is the friendships you make here, both with students and faculty.